I want you to take a second and just imagine your greatest achievements.
Like the big milestones.
Right, exactly. Think about that career you have painstakingly built over the last decade. Think about the relationships you've nurtured, the home you've set up, or those long-term goals you are currently chasing down.
The things that make you feel grounded.
Yeah. You look at those things and you likely feel a profound sense of pride. You feel like you've built a meaningful, secure life for yourself.
Oh, absolutely. That's the dream, right?
It is. But what if someone looked at that exact same life, pointed directly at your job, your family, your ambitions, and told you that, well, you haven't built a life at all. You've just built yourself a highly customized, incredibly comfortable prison cell.
Wow. I mean, that really forces a complete recalibration of what success actually looks like.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, because you spend your whole life trying to accumulate these universally accepted markers of stability and achievement. And the proposition that those very markers are the exact mechanisms holding you captive, well, it completely flips the script on how you measure the value of your time on Earth.
And that radical flip is exactly what you are going to explore today. So if you are joining us for this deep dive, your mission today is to unpack an essay from May 20th, 2020.
Right. It's titled Freedom is the Passport to Heaven by an author named Swifeng.
Yes, translated by Kinyu and edited by Kakir. And I want to be incredibly clear right up front. The goal today isn't to endorse this extreme philosophy or, tell you to immediately drop your responsibilities and abandon your life.
No, definitely not. The intention is really to treat this text as a fascinating, provocative artifact. It operates as a radical philosophical blueprint that challenges every conventional idea of what it means to be successful, to be free, and ultimately to be happy.
Yeah.
The author presents this incredibly intense, unyielding perspective on spiritual and physical liberation.
Because to even begin to wrap your head around this author's path to ultimate freedom, you first have to understand how they completely tear down and rebuild the concepts of heaven and hell.
Right, which is foundational here.
It really is. In this specific framework, heaven and hell are absolutely not physical destinations you go to in the afterlife. They are daily, minute-by-minute, lived states of being.
And the defining metric the author uses to separate the two is purely about autonomy. So, heaven is absolute freedom. Hell is bondage.
But not the kind of bondage we usually think of, right?
Exactly. The text doesn't define bondage as being locked in a physical jail cell behind iron bars. Earthly hell is described as living in debt. It is being kidnapped by the people around you.
Kidnapped.
Yes, the text uses that exact word, kidnapped. Even if your physical body is, walking around the grocery store or sitting in a coffee shop, if your heart and mind are firmly controlled by responsibilities, financial obligations, and emotional ties to relatives, you are currently residing in hell.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think of modern life like a smartphone running way too many background apps.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. You've got your mortgage app running, your social obligations to your friends, your career milestones, your family's expectations for the holidays.
It's draining the battery.
Exactly. You don't even realize they are all running simultaneously. The author's premise is that these background acts are actively draining your soul's battery. Living in earthly hell is essentially walking around with a mental battery that is constantly flashing at 1% because it's powering everyone else's expectations.
Yeah, and taking that smartphone analogy further, the author argues that you can't just swipe those apps closed for the weekend and expect to recharge. You have to completely delete the operating system.
Delete it entirely.
Entirely. Because the concept here hinges completely on mental real estate. When you are anxious about a looming deadline, or worrying about a loved one's health, or dreading a financial debt you owe, your level of freedom is mathematically low.
You just don't have the space.
Right. You lack the cognitive bandwidth to experience heaven because your mind is occupied territory.
So what does earthly heaven actually look like when the operating system is deleted? Well, the text lays it out as having zero kinship fetters, no debts to pay, and transcending what the author calls vulgar secular society.
Vulgar secular society.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, it still involves work. You are working from sunrise to sunset, but you do it with absolutely zero worries about eating, clothing, living, aging, or dying.
And the absence of worry is the crucial mechanism there. Earthly heaven isn't depicted as sitting on a beach sipping cocktails in endless leisure.
Right.
It is manual labor from sunrise to sunset, but it is labor completely stripped of anxiety. Freedom serves as the ultimate touchstone to verify a person's quality of life.
Touchstone, right.
Yeah, the author writes that high freedom results in a colorful life that brings you closer to heaven. Low freedom results in a bland, tethered life, dragging you closer to hell.
Okay, so if hell is worldly bondage and heaven is this perfectly unburdened state, how do you practically achieve that?
That's the big question.
The author provides a mandate. 10 highly specific rules for achieving this extreme level of freedom. And, they fly in the absolute face of every piece of modern self-help or productivity advice you have ever been taught.
They really do.
The author claims that only with this ultimate freedom can a soul have space to fly, travel in boundless space and time, and enjoy nature.
What's fascinating here is the sheer, uncompromising scale of detachment the author demands. These 10 rules systematically dismantle the human ego and the social contract.
Let's get into them.
Yeah, let's look at the mechanics. The text mandates that you never establish special relationships with anyone. You assume no responsibilities or obligations, and you promise nothing.
Wow.
By doing this, you eliminate the future. A promise anchors you to a future timeline, and it ties your peace of mind to another person's expectations.
Okay, wait. No goals. Promise nothing to anyone. Never establish a special relationship. I have to push back on this because it contradicts the very fabric of human survival.
It totally does.
We are fundamentally social creatures. We build communities, societies, and safety nets by making promises and setting shared goals. Removing all of that sounds less like achieving a liberated life and more like floating through deep space without a tether. It sounds terrifyingly lonely.
Well, from the perspective of the vulgar secular society the author is critiquing, it absolutely sounds lonely.
Yeah.
But follow the internal logic of the text. That social tether you consider a safety net is the exact chain that drags you into hell. If you set a goal, you are declaring that your present moment is inadequate. You create a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and anxiety lives in that gap.
That makes an uncomfortable amount of sense.
Right. The paradox of this philosophy is that to gain the boundless freedom of the cosmos, you must completely surrender your personal human desires. You give up the comfort of a special relationship to gain the entire universe.
Okay, and the other rules go straight after the material and the ego. Accrue no debts. Own nothing. In fact, the author explicitly states the more you own, the less free you are. Set no self-restrictions. Be unselfish. Have no ego. And the final rule is to obey only the will of the greatest creator, which explicitly requires rejecting all moral preachings and ideas advocated by people.
And the term greatest creator really requires some vital context here.
Yeah, clarify that for us.
The author isn't using this to describe a traditional anthropomorphic deity sitting on a cloud handing down moral laws. The greatest creator represents the fundamental, objective operating system of the universe.
So like the natural cosmic order.
Exactly. By obeying only this cosmic order, you are commanded to reject human-made morality. Societal expectations, cultural norms, and familial duties are all discarded as artificial constructs designed to keep you trapped in the secular world.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the author completely rejects human morality and expectations, they take direct, unsparing aim at the major milestones society tells you to strive for.
Oh yeah, the big ones.
The achievements you celebrate with parties and announcements are framed here as the ultimate tracks. The author states that most people are running desperately toward hell simply by following the standard societal script.
And the text deconstructs 3 specific milestones, revealing how they function as mechanisms of capture.
Let's start with marriage. Society views marriage as a beautiful partnership, right? A merging of lives.
Yeah.
But the author describes getting married as chaining a big iron ball to your ankle. The second you say, I do, you voluntarily surrender half of your freedom. Your time, your decisions, your mental space, they are no longer entirely your own.
And the author is really highlighting the vulnerability of attachment there. Because if you love someone, your emotional state becomes dependent on their well-being, their mood, their actions.
You're tied to them.
Yes, you have handed the keys to your internal heaven to another human being.
Then you have the dream of the entrepreneur, starting a business or a company. Culturally, founders are revered,
Most worshipped in some circles.
Exactly. But the author argues that starting a business is driven purely by vanity, greed, and the desire to be outstanding. The imagery used here is incredibly evocative. Once you start a company, you are stuck in the proverbial mud, and you can never climb down off the back of your tiger.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the tiger metaphor brilliantly exposes the terror embedded in success.
How so?
Well, you build a company thinking it will give you financial freedom and control over your destiny. But the mechanism of a business requires constant feeding. It requires managing employees, satisfying clients, outmaneuvering competitors.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. You aren't riding the tiger. You are clinging to it, terrified of being eaten the second you lose your grip or try to dismount.
So society's exact definition of making it is this author's exact definition of destroying your own life. Which brings us to the third trap, being an official or a politician.
The pursuit of power.
Yeah. On the surface, it looks noble and honorable. It might even bring glory to your family name. But the text argues it is full of hidden dangers. People in power are forced to live hypocritically. They lie so much they stop believing themselves, and their words can never truly match their deeds because they are constantly managing public perception.
And the underlying theme across all three traps, so marriage, business, and political power, is the illusion of control.
Illusion.
Yes. People pursue love, wealth, and influence because they believe these assets will insulate them from the chaos of the world. The author argues the exact inverse is true. These assets merely introduce the fear of loss.
Because if you own nothing and promise nothing, you have nothing to lose.
Exactly. The moment you build a legacy, you become a hostage to it. You become the warden and the prisoner of your own ambitions.
Okay, but if everyday life, love, and ambition are fundamentally designed as traps, how do you practically escape? I mean, you can't just wish your way out.
No, you can't.
The author insists that escaping requires recognizing the tragic nature of human existence, and then making one monumental, nearly impossible choice.
Which brings us to a foundational concept in the text known as the realm of necessity.
Right. The author states that every person is born into this realm of necessity. It is governed by 18 specific factors that human beings simply cannot control.
18 of them.
Yeah, things like the era of history you are born into, the country of your birth, your genetics, who your parents are. You are basically wrapped in the unpredictable waves of your times, rising and falling with historical and economic tides completely outside your influence.
You're the mercy of the universe.
Exactly. Because of these 18 factors, the very essence of human life is inherently tragic. You aren't driving the boat. You are just being battered by the ocean.
And it establishes a deeply fatalistic baseline for the human condition. You are born constrained by variables you didn't choose. So, to transition from this tragic kingdom of necessity into the kingdom of freedom, you must make an agonizingly stark, conscious choice.
The author visualizes this choice as two piles placed directly in front of you. Let's call them Pile 1 and Pile 2.
Okay.
Pile 1 is the absolute jackpot of worldly desires. It contains honor, power, money, beautiful women or handsome men, villas, luxury cars, and, perhaps most dangerously, people's compliments and admiration.
The inclusion of compliments is vital there. It isn't just about resisting material wealth. It is about resisting social validation. The ego desperately craves to be seen and respected by the tribe.
It's intoxicating.
Very.
So that's Pile 1. Now, Pile 2 contains absolutely nothing except for a letter of credit called freedom.
Just a piece of paper, basically.
Yeah. And the text states bluntly that 99% of people will always choose Pile 1.
Obviously.
The temptation of comfort and validation is simply too strong. But by choosing that first pile, failure is mathematically guaranteed. You secure your material comfort, but you permanently lose your freedom.
The choice requires you to see past the immediate tangible reward. It demands a level of foresight most people are frankly not equipped for.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this down to earth. Think of it like Indiana Jones choosing the Holy Grail.
Oh, perfect.
Right. Pile 1 is the shiny, jewel-encrusted cup that looks amazing, the one that actually destroys you when you drink from it. And Pile 2 is the plain, simple wooden cup that grants ultimate freedom.
The shiny cup feels like an upgrade, but it's just a trap. However, the mechanism for actually picking that plain wooden cup contains a massive catch.
A catch? How so?
Well, the author states, there is only one road from the kingdom of necessity to the kingdom of freedom. It is explicitly called the tour guide's roadmap.
The tour guide?
Yeah, the tour guide here refers to the author, or the spiritual leader of this framework, the one person who holds the exact coordinates to navigate out of the trap. And the text insists that you must follow this roadmap strictly. If any links are omitted, if you deviate in the slightest, failure is guaranteed.
Wait, you have to follow the map perfectly.
Perfectly. And this raises an important question regarding the ultimate irony of the entire text. To achieve absolute, boundless, unrestricted freedom, the ability to fly through space and time unburdened, you must submit entirely to a flawlessly strict, rigid, unforgiving path where a single human error dooms you.
Wow, that is a staggering paradox. I mean, you are essentially trading one set of chains, the mortgages, the societal expectations, the relationships. You're trading them for a completely different, incredibly severe set of spiritual chains.
Yes.
To achieve total autonomy, you have to surrender your autonomy to the tour guide's roadmap.
It really reveals the profound difficulty the human mind has in conceptualizing true freedom without structure. Even when constructing a philosophy designed to obliterate all frameworks, the author had to build a new framework consisting of 10 unyielding rules and a mandatory, strict roadmap. Absolute freedom apparently requires absolute obedience.
That tension brings this entire exploration into incredibly sharp focus.
It does.
You've just walked through a worldview that takes everything modern society values and turns it completely upside down. It is a perspective where the things you cherish most, your loving relationships, your career ambitions, your long-term goals, they are viewed as literal iron balls chaining you to the floor and dangerous tigers you are terrified to fall off of.
It defines true heaven not as a reward after death, but as a state of absolute, unburdened earthly detachment in the present moment.
Yeah.
It is a philosophy that demands you examine the invisible architecture of your daily life. The promises you casually make, the debts you assume, the titles you chase, these are all active forces governing your internal peace.
And as we stated at the very beginning of this deep dive, you do not have to quit your job, leave your spouse, or drop all your goals today.
You don't.
Right. But exploring this extreme text serves as an incredibly powerful, uncomfortable audit of your own life. It forces you to look at your own iron balls and your own tigers, all those background apps you currently have running, and ask yourself the hard questions.
Are these obligations actually serving you?
Exactly. Or are they just weighing you down? Are you instinctively choosing the shiny pile of societal approval, or are you actively prioritizing your own mental and spiritual bandwidth?
It challenges you to calculate the true cost of your attachments.
It really does. And I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go about your day. Something that builds on this paradox of detachment we just talked about.
Okay.
If achieving perfect, unblemished freedom requires abandoning all human relationships, refusing to make any promises, and surrendering all personal goals, does a perfectly free life run the risk of simply being a perfectly empty one?
That's the question.
Or is that total, pristine emptiness exactly what leaves enough room for heaven?